Arganissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA.
All right.
Well, hey, it is great to be with you guys. I'm John C. Morley, and I am joined together with my wonderful co-host.
Hurricane Age.
And together, of course, you guys know it by now, but we're going to tell you, we make up Double Impact.
Double Impact. That's it. We skipped a week, I think, right? Did we?
We skipped a week, yes. We skipped a week. This is our first episode. Well, it's still our first episode of February because there was the 30th was January. So we didn't skip our first episode of January, at least.
No, that was good. It was like the New Year resolution in the house. So we did that.
Yes, we did.
There was a little delay
I have a question
again.
for you, HH, and to our
viewers.
Go
for it.
How many of you guys out there ever use an appliance in your kitchen to warm up food or possibly even boil water? Anybody do that? Do you know what appliance I'm talking about? Well, this appliance actually it was invented in 1941. Anybody know what appliance I'm talking about? No? No guess? Who invented
I think I know, but I'm not going to say.
1941. What's that?
I think I know, but I'm not going to say.
Okay. Well, it was Perry. Good old Perry. Perry Spencer. Perry Spencer worked for Raytheon. And Raytheon basically did all kinds of defense work. And his job was to manufacture magnetrons. Basically, they are these devices that send out magnetic waves. You might call them radiating waves. But what a lot of people, when they hear about this, you hopefully know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our microwave. Yes, the microwave. Many people make the microwave today. But do you know how the microwave started? It wasn't like, hey, Jim, we need something else to cook food. You got to make that. You got to make that thing, that puts rays through food. That's not how it worked. I asked a question on my blog, and the question was this: what was the most significant thing that caused the development of the microwave as we know it today? A, water. B, egg. C, candy bar. D, popcorn. Or E, French fries.
Ding, ding, ding. Jeopardy. All right, let's see.
What would you guess? Any of our listeners out there watching, what would you guess? What is the one that caused us to get the microwave developed? What do you think caused
they
that?
They could put it on the chat right now. We'll give them a second. Yeah.
Is anybody answering us?
Dun, 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 dun. I'm not doing the copyright.
Nobody?
All right. I'll give it a guess. Popcorn.
Give it a guess. Give it a guess. Give it a guess.
I said popcorn. I don't know.
I will tell you that it wasn't popcorn, even though popcorn is something that we all know very well.
Well, I mean, again,
Popcorn is
popcorn came
used in the
after.
is actually used in our microwave. But do you know what the first thing was? It was Percy, the inventor of the microwave. Okay. Percy LeBron Spencer. He was coming to work one morning, like any other morning, but for some reason he had a candy bar in his pocket.
Oh, that I wouldn't have to guess that one.
What's that?
Candy bar, man. That's like the last thing on my mind.
and when he and what I will say to you is that when the magnetron was in the field close to his pocket, you know what happened?
It melted.
The candy bar melted. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it, HH?
It is. I mean, not a good thing to have, candy bar melt on your pants or your coat. That's not a cool thing. You got a mess.
So, so what is that all about? When the candy bar melted, it caused some brain cells to light up in his head and some curiosity to be aroused. And he decided that he should put other things in front of that beam. He decided to put other food, one of them being an egg. You know what happened with the egg?
Got cooked.
It vibrated quite a bit.
Oh, really?
And it shimmered. And then it exploded.
So now he knows there's something cooking in the air.
He then decided to take popcorn. And it popped. And so he realized that there could be a market for this, which is why he filed for a patent. And in his career, he actually filed and successfully completed 150 patents.
That's a lot. A lot of work.
It's a lot. But remember, he was the guy that designed these things for cop cars. Because we find magnetrons. You know where we find them? We find them in radar detectors. So take a candy bar and put it next to your radar gun. It's probably going to melt.
Hey, something to try, I guess.
Or if you don't have a microwave handy, well, just aim your radar detection system at it, and it might cook your food.
Well, I mean, we're gonna talk deep about that because we'll talk about EMFs and all that, and that would be an interesting discussion as well.
Oh, I know.
Yep.
But the first thing I want to tell you is that it's not as dangerous as you think, and I'll tell you why a little later. So he decided that there's probably a market for this, HH. You know what he did? He said, I wonder if there was some way I could contain that ray, that beam. So he built a metal box. He mounted the magnetron so that it would stay inside and point in the box. And it would just kind of bounce off all the walls. And when he did that, this is the thing that you're going to be really, I don't want to say impressed, but we all know how small the microwave is today, right?
Well,
do you know how small the microwave was back then?
It's probably a big thing, not a small thing.
Well, it was about as big as even a little bigger than your dishwasher.
Yeah, I figured. Oh, yeah.
And it was about $5,000.
Ouch. $5,000 then. It's the equivalent of 1,500. I mean, 15,000.
$5,000 then. But you know why people didn't like the microwave?
They didn't like it, you said?
They didn't like it.
A lot of people don't like it today. But I guess it changed it besides the cost. I mean, just
well, there was another reason.
Fashion cooking.
It didn't get adopted right away. That was because the microwave had to be water cooled.
Uh,
So it had to be hooked up
overheated.
to a constant water supply line because that magnetron would cook itself.
So now we have water and cooling and electricity, cost money. Not good.
Yep. The first microwave that came out. Do you know what the first microwave that came out was called?
Popper?
It
I don't know.
wasn't called a microwave. Anybody
Rapid
in the
cooking.
chat want to guess what the first microwave was called?
Let me ask Google.
Well, that's kind
Hey,
of
hey, Siri.
that's kind of cheating.
Hey Siri. Go
The
ahead, just kidding.
first microwave was actually called, like Radical, was called a Rad Range.
Okay, right. Rad range. I get it.
Rad Range, 1151. And the patents actually got filed around 1945, but 1941 was when it started. A Boston restaurant saw the first commercial microwave in 1947. It was the Rad Range 1161. 5.5 feet high. You know how much this sucker weighed?
Ton?
750 pounds.
Short of a ton. 250 kilos, right? Is that what it is? Did I do the math right?
750 pounds, yep. So,
Well, half of that. Sorry. just
but
mumbling.
then in 1955, we all know Tappan, right? An appliance manufacturer. They released the first microwave oven for non-commercial use. But due to its monmouth size, people needed to have enough room for it, as they did for their stoves. That's how big the darn thing was. And then it cost about $12.95 per oven. Not too bad. Raytheon then purchased Amana Refrigeration in 1965, and 2 years later, the Amana range was announced for home because it could now fit easily on the kitchen countertop. And guess how much it cost then, HH?
500?
You're right.
Damn. Hey.
It did save people a lot of time. However, it was only found in about 4% of people's homes.
You know, that's an interesting thing. I mean, you're talking about the historic moment and the creation or the invention and the cycle and the time frame it took from inception to actually becoming a household item. And there's a lot of items that actually went almost to the same process. I mean, you and I, we talk Disney all the time, and the wheel of progress. If you've been in Magic Kingdom, is pretty intensive. You know, where it shows you
They
like
keep updating it.
yeah, but yeah, well, obviously we're getting on the tech so fast, but it shows you like the turn of the century and the 1900s, and then the future ultimately. But it's impressive when you see like how that looked, where refrigeration, the cooking, and all the stuff, the fridges, and all the tech, and it's one way to look at it. And then you also look at when we grew up with animation and cartoons and stuff, and you look at the Jetsons, whatever those things, and the future, cartoons or even the movies, Star Trek, Star Wars back in the 70s, and you see things that at the time were just sci-fi, pure sci-fi. Today they're real. I mean, you and I are right now kind of talking from different parts of the state, and I've had different conversations. We have Meta, we have different things happening. It's amazing how the technology takes time, but eventually there is a progress to it, and then people start adopting. But it's not always easy to adapt in the first place. One is the cost. Two is just that people don't get hip to it.
That's a very big point.
Yep. Well, let's talk about it.
So yeah, let's talk about the microwave. So now that you know a little bit about the history, not a lot, but you know a little bit about the history, how the heck did that microwave get to where it was to where it is today?
You can go for $20. I'm sorry.
So microwave ovens hit the market, and people got, and even today, it has a little bit of a bad reputation, doesn't it? Because we hear the word microwave radiation. Oh my gosh. That just makes you feel so good, doesn't it?
Yep, scary. A lot of people are skeptical. A lot of
Right.
people.
Well, let me tell you why you don't need to be too scared. First thing is the WHO, World Health Organization. Yes, they're actually a thing. And they state, and I quote, microwave ovens are safe as long as they're used properly and maintained in good condition. So true exposure to massive amounts of radiation is dangerous. Microwave ovens are engineered to contain the radiation in that solid metal box. So that's pretty good. But now if you want to know about facts, because that's how health and safety is about facts.
Mhm.
The WHO has set a safe standard limit. And I quote, the emission limit of 50 watts per square meter at any point of 5 centimeters or 1.96 inches from the external surface of the oven is all that may be. Also, any person that is 50 centimeters or 19.68 inches will receive 1/100th of the microwave exposure, as opposed to someone that's 5 centimeters or 1.96 inches away. So now that we got that out of the can, you're probably going to be relieved to know that the most significant health concern is not what you think. It's the fact that the microwaves cook the food unevenly, and it can cause burns to foods, liquids, and even cause tiny bits of food to just be jello pelted in the microwave and little mini explosions.
Mhm.
Can happen with eggs, their shells, soups, cooking unevenly. So that you go to taste one part and like, oh, that was cold. Oh, that's burning. What happened?
That's why it kind of rotates. Gets a nice little motion there.
Now, even though microwave uses radiation, it is what we call non-ionizing. So in English, I'm not going to bore you with all the details. It's a lower type with enough energy to transform atoms around in a molecule, but not enough to discard the electrons. So it's not dangerous. People debated this, and they want to know, is it less or more nutritious? The people at the WHO say these concerns are based on misconceptions, and there is little to no difference in the nutritional value of foods cooked in a microwave oven versus a conventional oven. Nor does cooking food in a microwave oven make the food radioactive. So now we just dispelled all those myths that people were afraid to use a microwave over. Today's microwave ovens can be found for, $20, $30. But if you want a decent microwave, you're going to spend anywhere from $70 with standard features all the way up to my favorite baby, the Viking 30.
Ooh.
Over-range oven with built-in convection oven, too, and a price tag just at $22.49 plus tax.
Damn.
And one of my favorite features about the Viking 30 is the child safety lock. Someone can easily disable the whole oven's operation by simply holding the enter button for 3 seconds, and the whole keypad gets locked out. Just hold that button again for 3 seconds, and bam, the microwave is operational again.
So, John, you've talked about radiation. You've talked about some of how safe it is, but let's talk about what are things that the myths that some people have. I mean, well, there are some I would say from nutrition. You talked about it, that it's not any different from the regular cooking or convention cooking, but the point that I think people are more debating about is the type of food that are like microwave ready. I think that's where the problem is. Like, these are things that are frozen,
yeah, so I
ready.
think that's coming from a couple of things. First of all, the container is the big problem. You
Yep.
can microwave anything, okay? Just don't dare do it with metal
Yeah, it will
or
just
some
pop
kinds of
right in.
plastic.
Yep.
So that's really the problem. Any food can be excited, right? And that's what you're doing. And so if the food's not microwave ready or microwave safe, then you got to take it out of that container. It's usually what it means. All food can be microwaved. Although don't microwave an egg like without breaking it, or you're going to have a mess in your microwave oven. Soups, make sure you put a lid on it. Make sure you cover that with the saran wrap. Do not use aluminum foil. If you use metal, since it is raised, you'll start to see a lot of arcing and early fireworks in your microwave. And if you leave that going on too long, it might
It
pop a
ignites.
breaker.
Well, it ignites, actually. I've seen it, where it actually really, you have an actual flame in there.
And then it goes out eventually.
Yeah, once you turn it off, yeah. Well, so that goes to the other concept where we're talking microwave, but we're talking about a health topic anyways here. But tech and health, right? But people don't realize that eating bananas, you get in a good radiation through potassium, and there's a level there of radiation. You're exposed to the sun and to daily activities. You are, exposed to radiation. I mentioned EMFs. I mean, I actually bought an EMF detector and I went around the house and I
Oh,
have
very
like
nice.
well, I have a few TikToks about that, and you'll be surprised, how that thing reacts when you get to outlets, to phones, to microwave, to fridges. I mean, to even the alarm system, it was just like going crazy, going bananas. That thing was like, and that's like the stuff that we use around
But
us
that's
every
also
day.
hyperactive too. You have to realize that there's a level, right?
Sure.
And so that's why people, when they say using a microwave, it's safe to be by it, but you still should walk away if you can. A lot of people put their food in and they stay waiting the door. You shouldn't do that. I mean, there is a safe limit, but it's better to put the food. I mean, I'd like to see that you set the microwave, and what it should have on it is a delayed start, so you can get away from it in time. But people don't think like that.
Listen, I mean, you're an arm's length, boom, and you go. I mean, you should be fine.
You should be fine. And we talked about how much, area is there. So I think people have just worried about it. When you think about how the old rad ranges work, they were these huge things, and you turn this thing on, and this huge, it was like an X-ray machine. And literally you're putting your food in, and that's what they say was getting nuked, because it was like something from the outer space. I mean, this thing looked like something you'd see in a medical office or a hospital. And you were using it in your kitchen to cook food. The first microwave was like as tall as your fridge.
You better have a lot of food to cook in there.
No, you only have a little compartment smaller than what we have now.
All right, it's all
That's
it's
how
all
big the magnetron was.
damn. Yeah.
So he was very smart, this gentleman that I was telling you, who came up with the microwave theory, and how he came up with because he'd been making magnetrons his whole life. It was like this was not part of his research, and then suddenly everything changed. Everything changed overnight, and he was not ready for this. This change. He went from producing X to producing so many thousands of magnetrons in one day.
Good for business.
What's that?
Good production, man. Yeah, it's all good. There's demand. There's more money to be made. So we can talk business now. It's but it's amazing though. I mean, this is not we're I'm just having a little fun, but when you think about the level of perception that a person has, sometimes many of us are out there every day, and do we actually kind of observe everything around us? Maybe you've seen something that probably like be like, whoa, what is that? But we just kind of pass right by it. We don't pay no mind to it. But I have been over the history, there's been a lot of inventions or ideas that came up from pure surprise stuff that happens in front of you, and you just like, oh, there's something here, and you work on it and you make it happen. I mean, we are surrounded with technology. I mean, right now I'm looking at my studio here. I got all kind of tech around me. All this stuff didn't exist 100 years ago or 50 years ago, for that matter. As a matter of fact, I don't think 40 years ago some of the stuff I have here existed. But it's amazing when you think about that and the technology in our lives, and we can't even live without it now. I mean, think about it. We get a storm. You remember Sandy, right?
Hmm.
you know uh, a lot of things happen when the power went out. That was almost impossible. People didn't have access to electricity. You had to wait for gas. Yeah, and some people that are so attached to technology and appliances and all this stuff, they found it very difficult. I mean, even cooling, or the fridge, whatever. I mean, it was a tough thing. If you didn't have a generator, you got a problem. So I mean, we are relying on tech and devices on our daily lives, and it has become almost a necessity and not even something a luxury that we can just use whenever we want. We live by these things, and unfortunately, we need to somehow think about the alternative sometimes. Can you live without it? That's a question for everybody. Do you have a plan, for example, a contingency if there is some sort of a problem? There is I mean, outages happen all the time. I mean, in the summertime, you get, storms, you get tornadoes, you get this in some parts of the nation. All kind of stuff happens. Even in the winter, you get an ice storm, and then your electricity is gone. Sometimes for days, for weeks. How do you deal with that technology? That's something you should prepare for. And there's a lot of I guess sites and even government sites as well as personal sites that you can reach out and find out how to do these things, survival kind of concepts. Again, we're not veering off the discussion here, but it's just a matter of discussing the concept in its own. We are relying on tech, but can we live without the tech? Good question. What
I
do you think, Tim?
think it comes down to convenience, right? And then tech also comes down to security too, doesn't it?
Very much.
Convenience, security. Those are two big things. And when we start to realize that, we can suddenly, and I'm a perfect example of this, many years ago, I would have my tea at night and I would boil that pot and wait for it to boil. Hear the little steeple
Hmm.
whistling. I
Kettle.
don't do that anymore. I go walk over to the kitchen sink. I get my cup. I get my tea bag. I put the cup under the Instahot. I hold the button for maybe 5-6 seconds. I take it away. I let it steep for a few minutes, and I pour my milk in.
I like it.
So, but with technology, you have to understand that there are trade-offs, right? So we have to realize, are we like, for example, I won't have these Google Voices, and I have Siri, but I won't have like Google Voice. The reason is I don't believe that they're really doing the best to protect us. So when I go to a lot of clients' homes and stuff, and I'm like, oh, you have Google, like, can I set that up for them, Google or these voices? I'm like, I mean, it's nice you'd say, hey, Google, play this, but it's nice, but. And I have her. The only thing I just is only when I say her name is when she's listening. No other time.
Is
So I
that
don't have her
Alexa?
listening all day. What's that?
Alexa?
No, Siri.
Oh, Siri. Okay.
Yeah. So
Cousins.
there's been studies shown that they actually abuse that data, HH. They abuse it.
The data, you say?
Yeah, and they sell it to the highest bidder.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I know there's been debates about it.
Well, there
I
was a
mean,
big debate. They actually used the data. It helped somebody. It was in a murder case, but still, the permission was never granted to use that data. Yes, it helped, but what if that was another situation? A privacy issue. You don't even own your own data with the stupid Ring camera.
everybody has
It
one
gets
these
stored
days.
to the cloud. If you use their cloud, it becomes their data, and you agree to that.
Well, we can talk about that. I mean, we agree to a lot of things because I don't think 99% of people do not read the fine print, and I think I'm guilty of it too. We all sign these little contracts, where you enter the sites and accept all the stuff and terms and condition. How many of us have reading all the terms and conditions and the privacy
You can
policies?
blow that terms and condition up. You can get that document electronically, and you can just blow the whole thing up, and you could read the whole thing if you want.
Well, yeah, I mean, but at the time where you actually agree, you probably don't do that, and so there, you're like everybody's like rapid stuff, boom, click, I'm good, I'm in. You access the stuff that you want, but you don't realize what you've signed up for, and unfortunately, that's a
And like
very
the
common practice.
cancellation policy. Oh yeah, we're going to be auto charging you or something.
Oh, there's
Right?
plenty. I mean, that you taking me back to the gym days, where and some still do that. I mean, when there was all contract, and I remember back in the days, you would go to a gym, you sign for it, and then it winds up to be actually a loan. People actually got liens, in closings when they went to close. Like, oh, you owed money for a gym. Like, I never got money from the gym. No, you did sign, and apparently there was a loan involved in the process. They paid, and you owed. And so that's just buyer beware kind of thing, right? Caveat emptor, and you have to do your due diligence and read and stuff. If you can't figure it out, I mean, I know it costs money to have a lawyer, but it's important. But yeah, man, it's privacy is a big deal for everybody, for corporations, for individuals. It's the topic of the hour. I mean, you have to understand how your information is being used and utilize that out there. I mean, again, with some large companies. I mean, they've been under the gun with the government and the committees and questioning and things like that, and that's been the place, right? So, but people are aware. I mean, at the end, we all consumers. It's one way or the other, and we just have to, I guess, use our mind a little bit and use our, common sense. But it doesn't always work. And by the way, these rules apply. We talk mostly based on the U.S., but again, this shows Aaron everywhere in the world. The rules don't always apply the same way in other parts of the world. Depends on the governments, the laws, and things like that. And in some parts could be easier than others, and it is just a fact. So people, do your thing, do your own research, do your own due diligence process, follow it.
I think that's the problem with a lot of people, right? They don't quite understand what they're getting involved with.
Well, listen, it's hard actually to understand all the stuff that's actually written there. I mean, it's not written in common language, as you know. It's too much legalese language, and it's very difficult for a common person to understand all of it and the different angles. I mean, it is meant to protect whoever writes it, and sometimes it's not your benefit, but that's up to you. I mean, you agree to a service, you agree to a service. That's it. You can always term based on whatever that termination policy is, and that's it. But um, yeah, so that's that. So what else, John? Well, it is Heart Month, right?
Yep.
So from that point, I mean, I kind of wore a little red shirt here just to kind of celebrate as well. I mean, we all like our hearts to be pumping nicely and don't stop. And the fact of the matter is, it is an important topic. Heart disease is big. Diabetes, and other things can contribute a lot of things, but the heart is an important part of our life. I mean, I think everybody's claimed that, proclaimed that if the heart stops, right? It's a common, we see that all the time, heart attacks, blah, blah, blah. But we need to talk about heart health. I mean, just you're out there,
Your
watch your
your health
feed.
is so important. Your heart health, believe it or not, revolves around a lot of things. And so, one important thing that I learned from a friend of mine, which you never would think, HH, is important with your heart. Now, we talk about breathing and non smoking, and most of us know all these things, right? That's common sense.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, people still smoke, but that's a whole other discussion for another day, another universe. The reason a lot of people have issues with their heart is because they get accustomed to drinking milk.
Mm.
And you might say, John, where the heck are you going with this? Like, are you even like on the planet? I am. The milk causes lipids to form and it causes blockage in your heart. Cut down those milk low levels, and bam, you're in good shape.
Are you talking just milk or just any kind of
Well,
dairy
we're talking about
products?
milk first. Milk makes those numbers go pretty high.
Huh? Again, some people may disagree. I mean, milk's been in existence for centuries. It's been
Well, you have
yeah.
to understand it depends on your body, but milk will cause those levels to go very, very high. And so one person was telling me, oh, he just cut his milk down and he suddenly was fine.
I mean, again, I'm not going to debate it. And there's just so many opinions about this in nutrition world, this and diet. It's kind of weird and
Well, the
funny.
reason I know this is because they were going for certain tests, and there's tests that you can take to know your levels. And when these tri levels are very high, that comes from your milk. I never knew that before. Now, some people don't have to worry about that, but if you're drinking like tons and tons and tons of milk, what's going to happen is it's going to be more than you can handle. So let's say your body is supposed to take so much sugar, right? Or so much
Mhm.
salt, and you take too much of it. How's the body going to get rid of it? Right. We all know that if we drink too many glasses of water, which we've done before, we're going to be in the restroom for a while, right? Because we're drinking more than our body.
Thank you for reminding me.
Don't drink too much because you need to stay on camera for a little while. But it's the truth, right?
It is. Well, listen, this is like I've heard two sides of the story. I mean, talking to milk. I mean, we can talk about the topic of the hour, eggs. I mean, they're doubled in price, and there was a point where like you cannot have regular eggs because it's bad for your cholesterol, bad for this. Now you have a whole new school of thought that's saying you should get your eggs, and that was all propaganda. So again, there's always two sides of the coin on every debate and every topic, and you do not know which side you have to side with. You got to be in the middle and do your own research and just figure out what's your best fit there. And I think that's, being in the middle of the ground is always a good place to be, but
Right,
it
right,
is
right, right.
tough.
But I think a lot of people don't quite get it. Like they don't get what's actually going on.
Well, I maybe listen. We get live, right? We're part of live, and we get busy with everything, everyday stuff. And what happens is some people only listen to certain messages based on whatever. Let's say if you select one, if you listen to this podcast, and this is the only thing you listen, you're going to get information through us. It may not be the best, information for you, but some people choose a different one. They get information from there. So the idea
Well,
is
that's a very good point, HH, is that, people want to get information from multiple places,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And so you as the consumer, the business owner, have to digest these different pieces of information, okay? And you have to make a decision that is in the best interest for you, for your family, for your life. You're going to make that decision. People can impose upon you what they think, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to make that decision ultimately. We always hear on the news, like, this is wrong, that's wrong. But it's never enough to stop the world, but suddenly it gets on front page of the news. I'm like, how did that get on the front page of the news? Because people make it more serious than it really is. And I think when it comes to health and it comes to technology, everybody's like, oh, I got to get this, I got to get that because I want to stay healthy. But then they think just by wearing it or by using it once, or like, for example, my device that I have, which is my
Calorie
Lumen.
count. Yep.
Yeah, well, no, not calorie counter. It's something different. This my O2 counter counts
Oh, okay.
how many calories I'm by burning.
Hmm.
If I just use it once in a blue moon, well, that's not going to help me. Now, if I know that that device is reporting wrong, it's not the writing it wrong. I'm wrong. Like I'm not on track. Now you can get off track. That happens. And I tell people not to be angry at yourself because you're off track. Don't be angry. Just realize that you can get back on track, but you have to make that choice to get back on track because everyone is going to fall off track. I mean, everyone. All right. It's just how do you get back on track again? I mean, that's the main game. That's the end game. Make sense?
It does, and again, that's talk. Let's talk about that. I mean, the
Sure.
importance of being on point, on target, and understanding that you are gonna go through phases. The question is how often do you veer out and how far do you go and whether you can come back quickly and have measures in place. And that goes for your diet, goes for your health, goes for your fitness level, for your work, life balance, many things, relationships. I mean, it's all about how do you balance things and whether you have the systems in place to help you and guide you through the process. And I think we've had you do multiple shows, I do multiple shows, different guests and different topics, and it kind of always kind of leans into the same idea that if you have a plan and you actually do the right thing and you follow a certain set of steps, there's got to be a good outcome, and you have to set your goals, you have to have the vision, and there's that whole common denominator of perseverance, resilience, and consistency. I mean, these things happen across all the different walks of our lives, and it is really, it's like they're common themes. We hear them all the time. You want your health to be in place, you know what to do. You want your physique to be in a better place, you know what to do. You want a relationship to be in a good shape, you know what to do. It's that, and they all kind of align to the same concept. You have to have these pieces in place in order for you to get the success you want. In business the same way. You want to progress in your career path, you have a business, you need to consistent with your business and whatever plans that you have, and stick with it. I mean, if let's say you give up at the first element, and is there going to be a tough time? there's always going to be a tough time. There's always going to be a down place,
Well, I think
where
tough is okay as long as we have the resilience and we have the belief. There we go again, belief that we
that's
can
right.
get through it. I always say it doesn't matter what card you're dealt, and I don't play cards, but it doesn't matter what card you're dealt, or some of you that are more literal, what situations come up in your life or what happens to you doesn't matter.
Mhm.
What matters is how you choose to respond to that situation, because that will shape the outcome. You might say, well, John, I can't change people. Right? But by you changing your perspective on it, by you changing how you're going to react to something, that's going to make the difference.
Attitude, baby.
Attitude is everything, right? Everybody said the first thing is showing up. Well, attitude is like number one. Showing up is important too. I'd probably say attitude's like 60% and 40% showing up. Because if you have a bad attitude, you could show up all day long. You're never gonna make a goal.
It's, again, it starts with that belief, right? And the level of attitude you have about it and towards it, and whether you're gonna just fold immediately at the first
Yep.
breeze, and or you're gonna stand resilient and stand strong, tough, and just wade through it. I mean, that's it. It's gonna go through everything. Tough times. I mean, you go uphill, there's definitely a downhill coming up. There's only so much high, places you can go, and then it's gonna crawl back. And sometimes that part is nice, but it takes some time to get there. And again, it's weird. We start the discussions and then just evolve in a different topic area. But at the end of the day, these are all things that are elemental to our lives, and I think we all can benefit from these reminders. I mean, just let's call them what they are. Probably listening and watching this is not news to you or a new thing that you haven't heard before, but it helps
Mhm.
to actually just get the perspective every now and then. A good example for me personally, my social media is all about positivity and all these reminders and memes and things.
Me
I,
too. How
I
about
share them.
that? What a coincidence.
I know, I know. Well, yeah, I mean, well, that's what we're doing, this double impact for a reason, right? So you get it from both angles here, my way and John's way. But at the end of the day, our way is just about getting a
Our
success
our way
piece
is
of it.
really just trying to get people to wake up.
Time to evolve, baby. That's the motto.
And I feel that in our way, your way, everybody's different way, you have to be open to how things come to you. And I used this on a show once before. If you're looking for your significant other, your partner, what have you, and you're saying, I want to meet this person, but you're at a train station, you're at an airport, and that person walks by. No, can't be for me. I'm not meeting that person in an airport. I'm not meeting them at a coffee shop. So, universe, you can just forget about it because I'm not interested. You can't choose where things are going to evolve to. You've got to be open to them happening, how they're going to evolve. I'll give you a perfect example. We're working on this chili cook-off. And in the beginning, we had this little challenge, without giving all the major details. But this lady that was following me on my social media for a long time, and she met me. She's like, "Oh my gosh, John, I can't believe I met you," and yada yada. I was like, "Okay, great." And I helped this lady with something out of her car just to be nice. And she then says to me, "Oh my gosh, you're doing that thing in the chili." I said, "Yeah." I said, "We need a venue." "Oh, I'd be happy to be that venue for you." I said, "Yeah, but we don't have a lot of money." "Oh, John, don't even worry about money. My parents have so much money. Don't even worry about money because, we got you. We just want to help you out." Sounds good to me. "Do we need to sign a contract?" "John, don't worry about it. We're good. We're good, buddy. We're good. We are so good." That was December. January rolled around and it changed. Late January. You got how many people you got coming? We don't have our numbers yet. Oh, okay, because I need to get a count. I need to sign a contract. Well, I don't want to sign a contract until I have a count. Remember, you told me that we're all good. No, I know, but I got to give the room away to somebody else because I got a big party coming. Well, why would you tell me that it's okay? Well, I never said it was okay. I told you what I was charging per head. Then she comes back and says to me, "Oh, John, it's going to be X per head." And we said what we were going to charge, and she was $5 or $10 more. I said, what happened? Oh, John, food price went up. I said, but you told me the price and I marketed that price. Yeah, no, it's that's the price. I mean, you got to tip my help. Well, what if we cut it down? Well, then you got to provide your own help. I said, are you serious? She's like, yeah. And then she's being negative. She's like, well, nobody really wants to come. And nothing was going the right way. And then we made a discovery. There was a place across the street, very casual bar. And we approached them. She canceled our event across the street, the lady, because she wanted like $4,000 or $5,000 for like a wedding venue deposit. We hadn't sold them any tickets. But remember, she said, don't worry about money, HH. Don't worry about money. We got you. My parents have so much money. Don't worry about money. We got you. We just want to help you. So this is why my article this week for the marketing company is going to be what and how to know about trust. I think sometimes we all have the misnomer that we trust too early. We trust too early because we're excited, because we're anxious, because somebody else brought us to the party. And what do I mean by that is they refer to us like, hey, HH, or this is Michael. I want you to work with him. Even though you know me, you still haven't put in 100% trust in, maybe a little trust, but not more than 20%, because you got to see if that person is really as good as I said. Even though you know me, you still got to do your own due diligence. Always. And so I think sometimes that person brings the person to the party and it's like, oh, well, Bob, we didn't say that. And that was how this was happening to me, that everything was like changing because it was all about her and her venue. And I said, what about me? I mean, I'm being selfless here, not selfish. And it was all about her. And I think sometimes when somebody wants to help you, if it's something big, you got to get it in writing. Because,
it's fair.
I will say that some people have their heart in the right place, not on their sleeve, but they have it in the right place. But then when they look at the financial commitment or they look at the requirements, all the stuff that they're supposed to be thinking about, they don't think about it. Like, oh, shoot. Or remember we said the price of the X. Oh, John, I never said that. I told you it was going to be this per person. That's not what our conversation was in December. Oh, honey, you're mistaken. No, this is what you told me. I said, you don't listen very well. I said, when we had a conversation, you hear what you want to hear, don't you? Oh, I listen very well, and I told you exactly what I was charging you. What day? Because you weren't listening when I was talking to you about the event. And I think this happens with a lot of people in life, HH. They want to do the right thing, but then they get so flustered with everything around them that they don't know what the hell to do.
I think it's a common effect for a lot of us. I mean, it happens to the best, right? We've talked about this before. People have good intentions for the most part, right? And they're always going to be open to an opportunity where there's an opportunity for them or for other people as well. But then remember, there's that selfishness of called me number one, myself and I, me, myself and I, that kind of concept, right? The number one piece. It always gets down to that one, right? And then that's where you get some people who are beyond that and they're willing to sacrifice, willing to, to compromise, but not everybody is. And sometimes it comes down to that fine line. In this case, didn't work out, but you're right. You captured the essence of it, which is a simple thing. You have an agreement, make sure it's in, black and white, in front of your eyes, dotted, T's crossed. I mean,
and I think when somebody tries to help you, you believe that they're trying to help you. You believe they're trying to do the right thing.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
This is a different type of belief, right?
Yeah, right. Totally different kind of belief. Absolutely a different type of belief.
This is where, you try to believe, but you know what? I think we've been around the block long enough to know that what you believe and what can happen in some of these instances can be two different things. So, again, buyer beware. Cavit emptor. It's Latin for a reason. It's been around. We all make the mistake. By the way, I can claim, I can state. I've been in ventures in my life where I've lost money. I've been promised things. I didn't get the delivery of what I promised, and you
And
get
and
into
and
these.
and it didn't happen. I even had this happening with our show. We were supposed to have a national chef. Okay,
Oh,
I won't mention names of anyone. The person was supposed to get me the chef, get me the chef, get me the chef, and then I asked him again, "Where's the chef?" "Oh, we're working on, it, we're working on, it, we're working on it." Okay. The other day, I get an email back. "Oh, John, we have the chef for you." Fantastic. What's his name? All the information. By the way, uh, we just need you to get him a first class round trip ticket, and we need you to get him a hotel room for the 2 nights. I said, "What?" "A first class round trip ticket for him." "Well, for him and his staff." "Well, how many his staff?" "Well, you got 2 security people, you got him, and then you got 2 helpers." "How much are
okay.
we talking?" So I've learned that when somebody does that to me, I don't get upset. I don't get angry. You know what I just do, HH? I don't ask that person again. And I realize that I can't believe that they're going to help me, even though they want to. They just have enough of their own life to deal with.
John, it's funny. I'm listening to you, and there's two things here that pop up right off.
Oh,
One
good.
is expectations,
Yeah.
and two is assumptions. So let's break that down. I mean, I think we all need to learn to set expectations for ourselves and for others, and also be mindful that the expectations we set, sometimes if it's not in writing, that we might be surprised. And let's not assume. And I think that takes me to the assumption piece, where I think assumptions and has been, for the most part, the problem for a lot of us in this world. And we always assume that it's not going to happen, or it happens to the others, or it's going to be
Hmm.
okay. And then when we face reality, we get, ooh, ouch, that's not what I thought about, that's not what I thought is going to happen. Well, that's because we assumed wrong. And let's not assume, let's keep it to the
And we
facts.
know what
And
assume does, makes a blank out of you and me. So we know that assumption is bad. But I think when somebody commits, like if I say to somebody, "I'm going to do this for you," the first thing I say, "Wait a minute, I don't want to commit. Let me see if I can get this. Let me confirm first on my end that
yep.
I can get this. I'm not promising you. Understand, I'm going to look into this. I am not promising you I can do this. And I am going to do my very best to try to do it. And I'm going to let you know by the end of this week if I can do this. But I'm not promising you anything." "No, no, no, no. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I'm just appreciative you're checking out." See, that's a difference between somebody says, "Oh, I got you. Like, I need a chef. Oh, you want a chef? We got a chef for you." Don't tell me you have a chef for me if you don't even know if you can fill the bill.
But John, that's a powerful piece, because I think we all have that tendency to want to, like, do something right, like, you want a chef, I think I got this. Sometimes we do it with overconfidence, and I think that's sometimes a problem. And
Yeah.
sometimes they do it with a good intent, like, I really want to do this, but then, do you really know the facts? If you ask a chef, are they going to just be like, hey, I want to show up, there's no cost, so I'm going to show up with no
Well, I
they,
told them, "Get me somebody in New York that's probably visiting their parents or somebody that's going to come up here that's going to visit their parents. Don't get me somebody from Las Vegas.
you got the best, man.
The ch- Get me a chef that's either going to come up here, has family in New York or something like that." And but I think the other thing is, and this kind of gets a little personal, but we talk about that. But the other thing is the gentleman getting married, and the whole thing about there's no commitment and all this thing, and then there is commitment. The whole thing is, if the other person wants the baby and the other person is not ready to fulfill that prescription, well, then you got to make a decision about whether you're staying there or not, because you're going to get manipulated to fill that prescription if you really don't want to, because you have some feelings for the person. So I think that's another thing that people do. Oh, I'll just do it. And like, oh, shoot, I should never done that. And so we have to be mindful. And I use this thing of fill a prescription loosely that when, say, oh, well, she wants a baby, it's no problem, just get her a baby. But are you willing to do that? Are you ready and willing to do that? Or are you just like, well, it's no big deal? Well, it's no big deal, but do you realize what the implications are after that? And I've talked to so many people that are like, oh, well, John, it's only one night. I get it. But do you know everything that happens after that moment? All the time you're going to be on board, all the coaching, all the this, all the that, all the running, the this. That's when it all starts. See, that one night is basically the service, but then you have to pay for that service. So you get the bill as soon as the baby's born, you get the bill.
Hefty one too.
But yeah, you get a hefty one, and not just a financial bill. You get a lot of other bills. So I think if somebody's not emotionally ready, I'm talking to gentlemen here, emotionally ready for that baby, and puts, oh, and we got to have the baby. Well, I need a little more time, and then it comes down to, well, if I don't get the baby this week, now they put pressure on you. Say, well, if we don't get the baby this week, what? Well, you just better give me the baby this week. Well, if it doesn't happen, then maybe I should just say goodbye. Oh, no, you can't do that. Yeah, I can if you're trying to force me to give you a baby when I'm not ready and you're going to try to manipulate me. I think we should just say goodbye and wish ourselves well and let us find other good people in our lives. And I know that's going to open some people's eyes because I call that manipulation of being wrapped around the finger. But don't get wrapped around the finger unless you really want to be wrapped around the finger. That's where I'm going with that. But when you said expectations, the expectation is it's only going to be this.
Yes.
But what's going to be the next expectation? So, yes, you're my client. What's my next expectation? Or, yes, you signed up for my services, but what's the next expectation? You're going to do what I ask. You're going to pay the bills on time. You're going to be polite. You're going to be courteous. You're going to follow the instructions we give you. If you're not willing to do those things, then I'm not willing to fulfill the prescription to be your provider. Oh, well, that's kind of harsh, John. It's kind of harsh, but I'd rather not waste my time with you if you're going to be someone that's going to dick me around because you don't know what you're getting involved in. That's why we're having this conversation now. That's why we're not rushing you. We're trying to make sure that you understand what you're signing up for. I need a drink. No, you don't need a drink. You need to figure out the financial commitment, the time commitment, and you need to make sure that you and your staff are all in. Because if you're not all in, I wouldn't spend the money with us. Ooh, I thought we were just going out for burgers.
Well, but again, John, I know we're just about the top of the hour here, but the idea is, let's be clear. I mean, this is for everybody that's listening and watching. We all go through these things, and you went a little personal level there, but whether it's personal relationship, whether business, whether enterprises, and things that we get involved with, whether it's just partners with other friends and family members, doesn't matter. On trips, we do this all the time, and
absolutely.
Ask the questions. What am I? What's for me? And what's
for you?
What for you? That's it. And then let's be clear about it. And then set some timelines and real tangible stuff that you agree on. And that's it. And then you deliver. These are deliverables. If I deliver X, Y, Z, if you don't, blah, blah, blah. And then there's different, outcomes of failure to actually deliver. And you're clear about that. And then there's no assumptions in the game. There's no like, I thought this, I thought that. There's no thinking. And I think when we start thinking this way,
you got there. The thinking is the problem. We have to think.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying when we think that it's just going to be hanging in the air and maybe miraculously something's going to come out of it, that's when we're wrong. Think properly, do it correctly, and then don't worry about the rest. You do it ad hoc and you just keep it in the air and expect that an outcome is going to be just like peachy. It's not always guaranteed. And that's the problem. And we all fall into this trap. And, everybody watching, listening, if you can probably relate to one of those instances that happened to you in life. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. Doesn't matter what you believe in, what you do. this is something you probably encountered, and the best way to deal with it is kind of like be ahead of the game and just set those systems in place and have a rule. I'm talking to John. We have expectations. Here's what we need to do. Here's what I can do and we can't do. And that's it. And then that's about it. So he is clear. I'm clear. We're good. Done. And that's how true partnerships do develop and you get good results because there's both, again, as we say in the legal terms, arms arms length transactions, which both pull into our best, interest here, right? And that's the exact thing here. If we do it right, we shouldn't have a problem and we get into the mix without any issues. The minute we have some discrepancy in the ideology or the expectation, we got problems, issues.
And I think you bring a lot to point there because people expect things, but then they don't understand what it is that they're doing. And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just I think it's a good lesson that people need to learn. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well, that, again, for someone who's been around, you probably has, you probably have, been there, done that. For someone who is still learning their life cycle and then new, and the new age, whatever, like my kids, for example,
Hmm.
they're meant to learn some of these things in their life. But the idea, the sooner you get into this lesson mode and get out of the way and or establish your parameters, you will probably prevent some heartache in the long term, and that's it. I mean, it doesn't have to be too much hurt and too much loss in the future. But let me tell you this: fact is, no matter how good you are, sometimes, no matter how smart you think you are, you
Hmm.
always find yourself in a pickle situation that you probably didn't expect for whatever reason or the other. Sometimes we kind of let loose a little bit. We kind of just pay no mind or just get a little, you know wiggly with it. I mean, we don't keep that, maintain that strength of that firm attitude about this is exactly how I want to do it. It's going to happen every time I'm going to meet somebody, a new buddy, a new person, new this, new that, and this is exactly what I'm going to expect, and we're going to set mine and theirs, and then we're going to term, based on those conditions. But we all make that mistake where we loosen up and we wing things sometimes, and that's exactly where we make the mistake. Again, accountability starts here. So I know I've made some mistakes, John. I think you've made some, and again, I'm
Sure,
not judging
absolutely.
you.
We've all made them, and I think, as I said before, this is one of my things that I released this weekend on John C. Morley's Serial Entrepreneur. That you know, if we don't make mistakes, and I'll use this quick analogy because we're not going to have time to go through the whole thing right now, but we will definitely cover it next show. Is that if we don't make mistakes in life, we're never going to learn from them. And I always thought when I was younger that I had to be perfect all the time. I learned that's not the way you need to be. You need to make mistakes and then not don't make them again.
Well, I think I was watching Simon Sinek or somebody out there, and recently, and they stated clearly failure is part of success, and
Yes, 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 yes.
it is those mistakes we make are the success pieces that we learn from and become, and so again. Don't hesitate. It's gonna happen. Try to
Yep,
minimize, and also the
yep.
damage that can happen. You have to be aware of what that looks like because sometimes it could be devastating. So what that level is, and you have to be willing also to accept that no matter what happens, you're going to get stronger and you're going to move on, and you're going to just, like in your case, I mean, hey, venue closed, your venue open, right? That's it. You have to have contingency plans. So there's other systems
But
you
we
have
didn't
to.
have that in the beginning.
That's
It
right.
just kind of happened. And you know the chances of the venue being right across the street?
Well, that must suck. I mean, the irony of the thing. That's a whole different story.
And the venue has its own private party room outdoors, which has a tent and they heat to 85 degrees.
Sweet, sweet. Hey, listen, but it works out. But that's the other thing. I mean, again, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We hear that expression all the time. Always know that no matter what dark it gets after the storm, there's going to be sunshine, right? And at the last moment, at the tip of the hour, where it's like that's it, the end is near. Something happens. Not a miracle, but it happens. And if you believe, again, believe and achieve, you believe in that kind of attitude, you will see these things. And by the way, always have a contingency plan. That's the other part. You don't have to wait till last minute. I mean, this case, you were relying, John, on this, but when it got closer, you figured it out and you
Absolutely.
found something else. So you did your due diligence, and eventually you were ahead of the game once the true colors came up, right?
Yep,
But
yep,
that's the
yep,
thing. Like,
yep.
give yourselves time.
You
You,
got you
you,
got to give yourself time.
yeah,
That's the bottom line. And you have
that's
to
it.
realize that the way you meant it to work might not be the way it works, and that's okay. It's totally okay.
Yeah, listen, we've seen in the pandemic people actually moving from venues to venues, and like when everything changed, and the lockdown happened, and people started scrambling for wedding, halls or catering halls, whatever. There's a lot of people that had to compromise, to shift, to change from one area to the other. We've compromised at work, we've compromised at school, we've compromised in a lot of areas where we had to adapt lives. Right? Well, that's actually the same thing every day. We can adapt. We need to be able to adapt to circumstances day in, day out. I mean, listen. Today, a bad example, but it is reality. The Turkey earthquake. People lived their life happy yesterday, and then today it's devastated. Right? It is that kind of thing. Life can be crazy over a split second, and the question is, you know, you have to deal whatever the circumstances are today in front of you. You're going to deal with them, good or bad. Otherwise, you're going to have to live with them. If that's meant to be, you're going to make a move and do something about it. That's it. But you have to be prepared for those moments,
That
and they're
that's
going to
that's
happen.
that's basic. That's basically your bottom line.
Yeah,
We are at the top of our hour, HH. I don't know where it went. I don't know where the hour went.
we had some fun.
We had some
Actually,
fun.
we've covered a lot of grounds. I don't know. We started with microwaves. We wound up with with expectations and assumptions. But that's exactly what you get in this show. You never know what you're going to get. We don't actually have
You
an
you you
outline.
get what do they call that? You get a crock pot of information. It all goes into one stomach, but it affects different parts of the body. So if you take one thing, oh wow, I just had that and just realized, my sore throat went away. I had that and I had better hearing because certain things just go to where they need to go, but you
That's right.
consume them all at one time.
And listen, you listen to all the double impacts, and you put them together, you're going to get a few things that will apply in life that would actually help you, guaranteed. And maybe not today, maybe a future, you never know. But that's all. And if not, at least you got entertained. So you got two, crazies, in front of you right now, like ooh, going nuts. But really, we have good heart here, and we want people to eventually get something out of the discussions we have. And again,
Absolutely.
folks, join us, man. We expect you guys to chat with us and just get in the mix. You have opinions, bring them on. This is not about us, really, and we're
It's
not
about
always
you.
right. Exactly, we're not right. We're just talking, and we're mixing up. John and I, we literally don't rehearse this. We go on
We
and
don't
we
rehearse
just
at
we
all. We rehearse absolutely nothing.
yeah, it's maybe sometimes we decide on a topic and then we go from there, but then the topic shifts over the hour plenty. So again, that's what this show is about. The structure of this show is different. I mean, if you watch John's content on his platform and his shows, they're very structured. He's got a mission, he's got agenda for all his stuff. If you watch my other shows, we
Here
have
we just
different.
you have an admission too. Here we just kind of go wherever we need to go.
Yep, and it's
We're the
today's
only
actually.
show like this. We literally give you a smorgasbord of things.
Speaking of which, John, how is the radio going for our audiences here? They can join you and listen to you.
So WDLQ, what is it? Transform U. I always forget our core letters. Transform U. So it's actually WTLB DB. I'm on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 5:30 a.m. Chicago time to 6 a.m. and Tuesday and Thursdays from 3:30 p.m. Chicago time to 4:30. And starting on Valentine's Day, guys, I have a brand new show, something I've always been dreaming about. I'm going to have my own show in New Jersey, in New York, on WTVQ and WGHT Radio. Inspirations for Your Life, the hour with John to improve your life.
So I wanted to do the applause, but I missed it. There you go. I tried to do that one with the wrong button. All right. So you gotta have some fun. But hey, congratulations, man. I'm
Thank
happy
you.
for you, man. This is a big deal. And
Now we need to get some sponsors, HH. They got to see that I'm making an impact.
you are making an impact. By the way, that's the thing. You are making an impact day in, day out. Your work is out there. You're doing a good thing.
But you
And-
got to hit the numbers before they appreciate you. I don't do it for the pat on the back, but they don't really appreciate you. You don't get brought on Oprah. You don't get brought on Good Morning America until you hit the big numbers.
Well, you get brought up on my network, your
Yeah,
network,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
good
yeah.
enough for us. And now,
Yes,
listen,
yes. And we're
we-
reaching lots of people. Lots
It's
of
a-
people.
listen, slowly but surely. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. We'll get there. Take it easy. Take it easy. All
All right,
John.
everyone. I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. I'm with my wonderful co-host,
Hurricane Age.
and together we make up Double Impact.
All right, that's it. That's it. All right, folks.
All right,
take
have a
it
good one.
easy.
Be well, everyone. Watch those replays as much as you want because there's so much content in here. Like, when was that microwave invented? You're going to have to rewatch it and find out.
Or Google. We want you to watch the show.
We want you to watch the show. We want you to tell your friends to watch the show.
Here's the thing. If you don't care so much, just laugh at us. That's okay too. You just watch the show no matter what. All right. It's entertaining.
Take
Folks,
care, everyone. Be
take it
well.
easy.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.